Hi guys! I know it's been a couple weeks since since we've posted anything. I say I because I'm mainly the one doing it. But my hair looks awful today, guys. Sorry, this is more just like raw, real. I mean, I guess all of my vlogs are. But just I know I would want to do about HELP syndrome. I want to talk about life in the NICU. I mean, more than what I did last time. But God has kind of laid it on my heart to kind of talk about Him. Or I guess more my testimony through all this. I was listening to the radio today. I listen to K-Love. You know, I like my Jesus music. And a couple songs came on, and that's really where I kind of felt like God was speaking to me about this is what you need to do. And I wanted to do this now. So the first song is actually one of my favorite worship songs. It's Thy Will by Hillary Scott. It's a very powerful song. Actually, if you guys saw me on Facebook about a little over a year ago, when I locked myself out of my house, I was actually caught up in the moment. I was listening to that song and singing that song and praising Him. And it talks about, you know, I'm in a hard place right now. You know, I listened to you. I followed what you want me to do, and now I'm hurting. But through it all, Thy will be done. Like she says in the song, like a child on my knees, all that comes to me is Thy will be done. Because, you know, especially early on, that's all I could think of. I mean, I know there was one night I remember begging Him. This was early on when Jesse was still having problems with his lungs and stuff like that. Early on, I was just begging God, please don't take him from me. Please don't take either one of them from me. Sorry, I'm getting emotional thinking about that hard place I was in. Sorry. But, you know, through the end of it, you know, at the end of the day, it's His will. You know, yes, He gave us the option of free will. But to be a Christ follower and to be a God follower is to accept His will. We have the option of free will, but at the end of the day, we need to accept His will. And the other song was Sweetly Broken by Jeremy Riddle. And it just kind of like reiterated that whole point. At the cross I bear, I'm sweetly broken. And it just, it's like, okay, that was okay, God, you want me to share my testimony. Okay, I got it. I will. And my whole life is my testimony. I've had it rough. I'm not going to go into the full details of my childhood in this video. I'm not going to go into full details of a whole thing. My depression hit when I was 16 years old. Been battling that demon 12 years now. Probably longer, but it hit ahead then. Obviously, I'm still battling it because I told you guys, you know, I was on suicide watch during my pregnancy. So, and it's actually because of my depression that my testimony begins. I'm not going to go into a lot of specifics because this is about between me and God and nothing else. July 4th, 2015, so exactly 3 years before my babies were born, I was in a place where God didn't want me to be. And I hit a moment where I just wanted to die. I was not happy in the situation I was in, and I felt like suicide was my only option, my only way out. I was in the shower, and my shower was clogged. So there was water pooling because it was an older shower, so the pipes were weird. It wasn't clogged, but the pipes were weird. So it, like, instead of going like straight down, it like made this weird L shape, so it like clogged easier. But it wasn't fully clogged at that point. I was in the shower, and that demon. Yeah, you see my cross in the background. Sorry, I painted that, so that's a very special cross to me. Anyway, sorry, I'm going off topic. I was in the shower. The water was pooling. I was so miserable, and I felt like my only escape was death. And I just remember thinking, in that shower, all I had to do was hold my breath, position myself to fall forward, and hit that pool of water at the front of the tub. That way, the first water I breathe, the first breath I breathe in will be the water, and that'll be the end. I won't have to feel the pain of drowning, but it'll be over, and I'll be free. And something stopped me, and for 2 years, I just believed that was my willpower. Like, I'm so strong, like, I talked myself out of suicide. And then I remember a week later praying for something specific to happen. And it did. Like, within 24 hours, that thing happened. And again, I'm not going to go into specifics, but it's if you want to know the full story, reach out to me, but you'll understand why it was too specific of a thing to be coincidental. And then a couple more weeks later, I was out of that situation that I didn't need to be in any longer. And I was praying about something that was going on with that situation, and my sweet aunt gave me a t-shirt that said, I was praying hard. Like, this was the hardest I had ever prayed in years. And I wasn't even praying for myself. I was praying for somebody else. And my aunt walked in, and she came to me and she was like, this was like 2 minutes maybe after I finished that just powerful prayer. And she gave me, you know what, if I'd been better prepared, I should have grabbed the t-shirt out of the drawer. A t-shirt that simply said, I got this, God. Now, this was a t-shirt she had purchased for a fundraiser for somebody that she knew that had cancer. So it had the cancer ribbon on it and everything else. And it was like way too big for me. I wear it as a sleep shirt. But within like a whole month of each other, like, I had 3 really, technically. But at that point, I only saw it as 2 big moments from God that says, I'm here for you. I did not abandon you, my child. Because that was something that I had felt for years. God has abandoned me. It's not that I didn't believe in him, but I felt like he didn't love me and he abandoned me. And in those 2 moments, I kind of realized, oh, okay. But I wasn't fully ready yet. I still kind of lived my life my way for a couple more years. It wasn't until Ryan convinced me to go to my Christian Life of Foley, which is now Anchor Point Church of Foley, that I really started to realize things. But I remember when I was looking to God for the sign that I needed to be out of that situation that I was in, when I got granted that answer of, yes, you need to leave, I remember thinking, I need to get to Mobile or Baldwin County. Like, I had been wanting to get back for years. Like, I went to Spring Hill College and just fell in love with the area. I knew I eventually wanted to end back up, but, I didn't really feel that call. Like, I was just like, yeah, it'd be nice to live there. But when that specific moment happened, like, it went into overdrive. Like, no, I need to be in Mobile or I need to be in Baldwin County. Like, that's it. All my focus, I went tunnel vision. Like, all I cared about was moving. I started applying for jobs. I started taking days off work to go. Like, I talked with my bosses and I was like, look, this is my situation now. This is where I feel I need to be. So they were really good. Dr. Fuller at Hope Animal Clinic was one of the best bosses I ever had. Man of faith. I didn't realize that it was God at the point, but I think he kind of did, so that's why he didn't really question when I was like, I'm moving. Like, this is it, I'm moving. And I had vacation time saved up, so I used my vacation days to come down for interviews and stuff like that. I mean, like, I had to get to this area, and I just thought it was just, oh, I love the area, and it'll be a clean start and everything else. Like, no. That was God, too. Okay, and we're gonna, in fact, ooh, I don't know where that's from. Anyway, sorry. And I had to be down here because if it weren't for being here, then things wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have met my amazing friend, Carly, who then introduced me to my wonderful, perfect for me, just God-given husband. That man has done so much for me, for Dixie, for Jesse, for Scarlett, for all of us, for our family, for Belle and Delilah and Jack even, like, I mean, even the fish. Obby, my beta, and Hemingway, our dog that, unfortunately can't live with us. I mean, just is bent over backwards, and he's from God. I can say that because I'm older than him, so he is, for me, from God, not the other way around. But I had to have my husband. And throughout the years, these last 3 years, I was really trying to rebuild my faith after those 2 moments. 3, yes, they were 3 moments, but I only knew them as 2 for a couple years. So I was in the Bible a lot. I was, reading, doing a December Bible challenge or whatever, reading the story of David And David's father was Jesse. And I was reading more about Jesse than David. And Jesse, the father, and I just had this in my head. That will be my son's name. Okay. Didn't question it. My son will be named Jesse. So then fast forward a couple years, Ryan finally convinces me to go to my Christian life in Foley. I fall absolutely in love. I dive headfirst into serving. I haven't felt this way about a church since I was in high school. And it's so weird because I was that kid who was like, I'm going to be Catholic until I die. I have a rosary tattooed on my shoulder because I'm going to be Catholic until I die. God had other plans. I needed my Christian life, now Anchor Point, to be my anchor point. I have sorry, so I got rebaptized, this time by my choice, for me and God's relationship. I had been baptized previously, but I did that to impress my parents, my mother when we were going to the Nazarene church when I was little, and then my dad when we were going to the Catholic church when he got custody of me. I did all that to impress them. But this last time I was water baptized, it was for me and for God. And that was it. I wasn't trying to impress anybody except for God. And it was through starting up until that, I feel bad. I can't remember the exact sermon, the exact title of the sermon that Pastor Todd was preaching. But it had to do with the Holy Spirit. And it was learning to it was about learning to recognize God's own voice in your head. And I don't know, that just set off a spark in me. And I have been able to understand the difference between the enemy and God in my head. And sorry. So fast forward to December of last year. A couple months of, I'm not exactly sure when I had the dream. So I had been reading the Bible, and I was on Jesse, and Jesse was to be the name of my son, my firstborn son, no question. Killian came from Once Upon a Time. I will unashamedly admit that, but it's C for the traditional Irish spelling. I mean, just because I like the name and it's cool. But Scarlet Rose. I had actually had a dream where I had twin girls. Of course, they turned to kittens when I got home, but in the hospital, they were human baby girls. And the one's name was Scarlet Rose. I can't remember the other one's name. Obviously, it wasn't important. And that name has stuck with me for a girl ever since. Like, I just couldn't get... when someone tried to say the nickname Scarro, like ScarJo for Scarlett Johansson, but Scarro, I was like, I hate that. I don't want my daughter being called that, so I'm just going to change her name to Emma Rose. Well, no, that wasn't happening. No, that was God's voice. No, her name will be Scarlet Rose. Just like your son's name will be Jesse, your daughter's name will be Scarlet Rose. Okay, yes, sir. When God says jump, you don't ask how high. So then fast forward to December of last year, and I had one night 3 dreams where, and I'm not making this up, guys. I know this is stuff you read about in the Bible, but this is what happened. 3 dreams where an angel visited me and said, it's time for Jesse. All right. And then I prayed about it, and yes, and then I had prayed with a friend of mine about it, and she was like, yes, it's gonna happen, Okay. So then into January, or 1st of February, it happens. So, and then there's twins. So two dreams, one about twins, the other one, so that was a God thing, God has plans for them, and I know He has plans for them, and our testimony is part of their plans for them. So now we get to July 4th, 2018. So 3 years from that day in the shower where I just wanted to die. 3 years later, I am literally dying. Literally dying. My body is shutting down. I'm dying. But God said no. God said no. You're not done in the world, and the world needs your babies. I created you and your babies for a purpose, and your purpose is not fulfilled yet, and your baby's purpose isn't fulfilled yet. So this was why I had the call to come down here. Because if I was still up in Birmingham where I was beforehand, UAB doesn't save 22 weekers. They don't start until 24 weekers. So they wouldn't, if I was still up in Birmingham, my babies wouldn't be here. So I had to come down here, 1, to meet my husband, and 2, to save my children's life. And mine, but mainly my children's life. Because UAB could have saved my life, but they wouldn't have saved Scarlett and Jesse's lives. So this was all perfectly lined up from the day that I was conceived. And I got irritated early on. Someone when I said something about this being part of God's plan, and someone said, no, God doesn't plan tragedies. God doesn't plan for tragedies. This is not a tragedy. This is not a tragedy. It sucks, and I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I am still healing. I may have developed some autoimmune. I'm not trying to diagnose myself. I'm just saying women with help usually go on to develop something else. My babies are still in the hospital. I still cannot stay the night with them. But this is not a tragedy. Because they are still alive. They are thriving. I am still alive. This is not a tragedy. This is something that God will use for later on in our lives. There is something big planned for those 2 babies. And there's something even bigger planned for my friend Kayla, whose babies are in London and the first 22 weekers to ever be saved. There is a God. He sent down His Son to die on the cross for us. He has a plan for your life. And I know I kind of jumped all over the place, but y'all, that's how I stay so positive. Is because they're alive. They're alive. They're 3-4 weeks from coming home. That's God. Yes, it's the doctors and the nurses, and I'm not one of those who don't believe in the miracles of modern medicine. I believe that God created the doctors and the nurses. I believe that God was the one who provided the inspiration for all this to happen. God created Dr. Ayel to go forward to save these babies' lives. So that's my testimony. And you cannot convince me that this is not a God thing. You can't. There's been too much to happen in my life to be coincidental. Way too much happening in my life to be coincidental. It's just, it's this, these events and these dreams and everything else is why I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt before I even had that scan, that I was having a boy and a girl. I knew because of all the things God had shown me previously. I can't make this up. I'm not psychic. I learned to listen to God's voice in my head. I learned the difference between my voice, the enemy's voice, and God's voice. 3 years ago, July 4th, 2015 to July 4th, 2018. July 4th, 2015, I wanted to die. July 4th, 2018, I was dying. I'm still here. My babies are alive and they're thriving. God is real. Okay. I'm going to do research. I promise I'm going to do a help video. I really want to do that too because that's important. But I really just, that's been on my heart. I wanted, yeah. That's how I can believe in God, in Jesus, through all of this. Because this is part of his plan. It sucks. It's painful. But I shouldn't be here. I guess is my biggest thing. It's something that Pastor Todd talks about a lot in our sermons when he says that, a lot of us shouldn't be here and that's why we go to our church. I shouldn't be here. For all intents and purposes, I should have died 3 years ago. I should have, because that was the third thing. See how threes? That was the third thing in that year, that actually span of a couple months that happened that proved to me that God is still for me. That wasn't my voice that stopped me. It was God's that said, you're better than this. I know now. And I hope my story can reach you guys to understand too. I didn't save my life. I'm not that strong. You know how many times I've been on that edge? It's not me. It's God. Love you guys.